The Samaritan is a new superhero movie coming out only on Amazon Prime starring Sylvester Stallone. Now, growing up, I've loved Sylvester Stallone movies. I love films like Over the Top and Cliffhanger. They're always near and dear to my heart. And I've always looked at those movies in sort of a different category than other movies. For me, I don't care if they're not the best in every single way and they don't build this incredible script and story. To me, they're just fun, and they know they're fun, and they succeed in being that, and they're over the top. There's something about the energy that those movies had that helped them get away with a lot. I mean, some of Arnold's movies and Sylvester Stallone's movies did the same thing in those days, and it just worked. But unfortunately for Samaritan, instead of going back to a golden age of film like that, it goes back to a time before superhero movies were consistently good. Now, this is a new hero as far as I know. I don't know about anything else that ever included this hero, and the standard list of things should happen in an origin movie that we've seen Marvel do it many times really well, especially in my opinion with the first Iron Man movie. And it all begins with that origin story. Think Captain America. In the first movie, he's this scrawny kid that really wants to fight for his country, and we see this story develop up to the point where he gets the serum and becomes Captain America, and it's very, very satisfying to see that happen. And that progression is perfect. It's a great formula because it shows you where they were before and where they are now, and it's almost like a payoff for sticking with the story through the beginning. In this film, they did it really backwards. And you can see this in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler, but Sylvester Stallone is older, obviously, in this movie, and he's a retired superhero, so this is actually after his career. However, the entire backstory, which is 10 times more interesting than everything else that happened in this movie, is told to us through a 10-minute exposition sequence that really sucked. I wish we could have actually seen that. And the shame of the matter is, the stuff that was actually shown in those exposition scenes that they showed at the beginning of the movie were actually really cool, and I wish I could have actually seen that. And throughout the film, there's little flashbacks and little hints about that period of time that keep appearing. I wish we could just stay over there, just for a little bit longer in this movie. And the stuff you get to see in these clips are really cool emotional moments. You actually get to see him using his powers. Just to give you an idea of how much he actually uses his powers, here's a clip of one of the times where he uses his powers.
Time before the city implodes.
Okay, so what you just saw was pretty cool. I think it was cool, but that was one of two times, I'm pretty sure, maybe there's a third, but I'm pretty sure that's one of two times in the movie that he actually uses his powers. And this movie unfortunately focuses 90% of the time on this kid who's really obsessed with Sylvester Stallone, is convinced he's a Samaritan, and every scene with this kid is really boring. His acting, I don't know, it didn't work for me, and it seemed like all the scenes were trying to be gritty and dark and build suspense, but it really didn't. One of the biggest things that's supposed to make the whole storyline with this kid more interesting is the fact that he's sort of involved with this bad group of people, and one of those people is the bad guy, the villain of this film, Nemesis, who I'm going to talk a little bit more about later. But as soon as it finally cuts from this kid's boring storylines and we get more of Sylvester Stallone, which is what made me watch this movie, he's walking around in a hoodie, seeming like he doesn't really want to do anything, which, I mean, that is what his character wants to do, is nothing, really. And you know what? I think I'm just going to call this a Sylvester Stallone walk around in a hoodie movie, because that's pretty much what he did for the entire film. So what you saw in the trailers of him walking around with the hoodie is the movie. And the villain of this film, Nemesis, who I alluded to earlier, has literally no motivation for what he's doing. He makes even Marvel villains look complex. He's really just this random junkyard boss guy that wants to convince this army of goons to go out and destroy the city. He's basically just an anarchist. And this isn't really a spoiler. There's this scene where he gets up on this truck and is trying to rally all these people of the city to go out and follow him and cause all this destruction. And he's on this random street in the middle of the city, and there's like a crowd of maybe 50 people, probably not even. And then they turn it into this big news story as if the entire city just created an uprising of anarchy. It was the most cringy way of doing that ever. I mean, they could have at least got some extras to fill at least one street. I mean, at least a corner of a street or something. I don't know. It was the most bizarre scene, and the way they did it was just so strange. And can we just discuss his power? He has this power in the movie which is just basically to swing a hammer, and the hammer was forged with his hatred. I'm serious. There's a point in the movie where they make a pretty big decision, and it's one that I didn't see coming, but it's too little too late. It's like the big Hail Mary at the end to try to make up for every other issue of the movie, and it could have been epic, but the movie never took the time to actually give us any of the emotional points that it had hinted at for the entire movie. And the twist would have been much more powerful if we actually knew what happened in the past. And there's this really rough CGI in one of the flashbacks at the end where they tried to de-age Sylvester Stallone's face. It looks so bad. But what's actually happening around him, and I'm trying not to get into specifics to not spoil anything if you're interested in seeing the film, but the things that are happening around him look really cool. Like the actual storyline, what must have happened, but they never give you it. You never actually know. They hint at what might have happened, but I actually want to see those scenes where he's actually using his powers. It was a real shame, and I know Sylvester Stallone's older, but I don't think it's an excuse. I mean, you see him in Expendables, and we even have another Expendables movie coming out, and I know he can do more than that. I don't think it's a limitation from that. I honestly think this is the direction they wanted the script to take, and I think it was a huge mistake. Making a superhero movie right now, to me, is more competitive than ever. You have so many coming out that are really good. It's not like the days when they were really bad consistently, and then you had X-Men come out and just changed everything. We're post X-Men now. We're post MCU first phase now. So it's really weird to me that Amazon even made this movie. It's really hard for me to recommend this film to anyone, even as a huge fan of Sylvester Stallone and pretty much all his movies. Even the ones that aren't good, aren't even fun good, I still kind of like. But this one, I don't think I can ever watch it again. It's also surprising because Amazon has produced some pretty good superhero content, like The Boys and Invincible. Now, I don't know much about Samaritan. I don't know if it's a comic that it's based off of, I'm not sure. But coming from Amazon, I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt, again, because of The Boys and Invincible, two of the best superhero things out there right now. Unfortunately, this movie fell flat big time. Anyway, I'll be posting more reviews and hopefully some Blu-ray hunting at different places I can find. Be sure to subscribe and like, and I really appreciate it. Thanks.